All right, all set.
Thanks, Craig. As Craig said, my name is McCrae Burnham. Those of you who can't see me, I'm a 50-year-old white man. I've been working for the department for well over 20 years. I work as a section chief in the Division of Lands and Forest, and the Lands and Forest and the Bureau of Forest Preserve and Conservation. I'm going to be the lead presenter tonight, but this policy was developed by an interdisciplinary team led by Josh Clegg, the Bureau Chief of Forest Preserve and Conservation. Also participating on this team was Leah Akins, the DEC statewide ADA coordinator, Nate Ermer, a section chief in our Fish and Wildlife Bureau that manages our wildlife management areas, and the wildlife ADA coordinator, Sandra Van Rankin. We had two attorneys assisting us at all times, Katrina Dreyer, who is the department's ADA coordinator, and we had Molly Breslin, who is the attorney for the Division of Lands and Forests, the largest land manager. As Craig said, this is a public meeting on other power drone mobility devices. It is a public meeting. It is being recorded. DEC will be accepting oral comments tonight. Please raise your hand and we'll go through them in order. If you're having technical difficulties, once again, please call 518-402-9710. Please limit your verbal comments to 3 minutes or less. DEC is accepting written comments on this policy until March 9th. And the email to send those to is landsforests@dec.ny.gov. And it's lands forests, one word, LANDSFORESTS. We will put this up at the end also. So the policy will establish a process to determine where other power-driven mobility devices may be used by individuals with mobility disabilities to access recreational programs. DEC manages a large variety of recreational programs and a large variety of land classifications. We manage around 4 million acres of land. We have 3 million of the most protected lands in the world, our constitutionally protected forest preserve. We have 800,000 or so of our state forest reforestation areas. We have wildlife management areas, which are managed for wildlife dependent programs. We have our conservation easement program, which the department owns a series of rights, but the underlying fee owner is a private landowner. And then we have 5 environmental education centers across the state that are very important to us. These are not all the lands and all the classifications that we manage, but these are the big, broad subject areas, and they're all underlying purpose is natural resource protection. The background from the federal front, in 1973, Congress passed the Architectural Barriers Act. This is still very relevant today. This is where the U.S. Access Board gets its power. They have created our regulations to when we build facilities in the natural environment and the outdoor recreation, how we are able to say they meet a standard. It is this standard that we're going to, the Chapter 10 outdoor undeveloped recreational areas. And we use those regulations regularly. Then in 1990, the Congress passed the Americans with Disabilities Act, commonly called the ADA. This was where they determined Americans with disabilities was a civil right, and they had a right to access programs across private and public entities. DEC has been complying with these regs. The regs were created in 1992. That was the first set of regs. They made a number of changes to those regs over the years, but it set the basis for disabilities in state government and local government services, that we cannot discriminate based on disabilities. Those regulations were added to in 2011. That is when the Department of Justice came out with the other power-driven mobility device policy regulations, and hence this policy. And that set up a reasonable accommodation. A reasonable accommodation is we make modifications to our policies and procedures to allow people to participate in our programs and services and benefits. DEC, this is similar to a variance that many local governments will give on zoning rules and other things. It gives us ability to set aside the rules that we normally use to allow people to have opportunities that they may not have without those reasonable accommodations. DEC and the APA Foundation, and I talk about the Adirondack Park Agency, they are our sister agency and a very important part of working with DEC on covering the Adirondack Forest Preserve. DEC in 1997 created what is called Commissioner Policy 3. Some people call it the motorized access for people with disabilities. This was cutting edge in 1997. It's a little outdated now, and we're going to fold it into this policy. But it allowed people to use ATVs or cars on administrative roads that DEC determined were able to handle the extra use. We were out in front, and now we're catching up again. Early in the 2000s, DEC created the statewide access coordinator, which is now Leah Aikens' job. She's only our second. We had Carol Frazier for many years, and both of them have pushed the ADA and to the forefront at this agency, and we appreciate their efforts. Also, since that, DEC has added a regional ADA coordinator to every one of our 9 regions. And all of the land management divisions within the agency have an ADA coordinator. I am the Division of Lands and Forests ADA coordinator. Sandra Van Rankin is Fish and Wildlife's ADA coordinator. Also, early in the 2000s, DEC and APA together established an accessibility advisory committee. This is a very proactive committee, still meets every quarterly with DEC and APA, and we bring a variety of issues to them, and they make a lot of comments and recommendations to us, and they push us very hard, and we appreciate their efforts. DEC in 2012 established the case-by-case review procedures. This was so that we could comply with the 2011 other power-driven mobility device regulations created by the Department of Justice. And we still are using that. We're rolling that process into this new policy in an effort to daylight it. The Adirondack Park Agency in 2025 amended the Adirondack State Land Master Plan to better include ADA language. This was a needed improvement to the Adirondack State Land Master Plan. The purpose and goals of the policy is to allow access to recreational opportunities while protecting our natural resources, which is consistent with the federal regulations. DEC, the regulations direct DEC to consider evaluating, I apologize on that. DEC is going to consider evaluating new opportunities on our old motorized access for people with disabilities through a planning process. The policy will increase our transparency and clarify the process for both staff and the public. And it'll also identify other powered germ mobility opportunities, and outline the application and review process by which we are using to review your application. The policy will establish pre-approved areas where DEC will not be doing any further review of the device as long as you meet the what's in it, and the spot or the area we've decided you can go. It establishes in certain classifications may allow, it establishes where future OPMD reviews where certain classifications of other power germ mobility devices may be allowed pending review through a DEC established land management planning process. This is sort of the increase to the motorized access for people with disabilities. It also clarifies where we will consider a case by case and allows us to, it describes how we're going to review case by cases. It also tells the public where things may be incompatible with the land management units. DEC has already reviewed the 5 federal assessment factors, and we've determined that these locations cannot reasonably accommodate certain categories of other power germ mobility devices. There are, as I said, there are 5 federal factors to determine whether a device can be accommodated on a unit. DEC, through the policy, breaks this down into 9 questions for our staff. Those 9 questions are in one of the attachments to the policy. If you can say no to all 9 questions, there is a presumption that we will be giving the case-by-case permit. If we say yes, there's a presumption that we will consider denying the permit. So the federal factors look at the type of device, the speed, the weight. Is one thing we can look at. We can look at the facility's design and the volume of pedestrian traffic, the design and characteristics of the facility. We can look at whether there's legitimate safety requirements that can be established to permit the safe operation. And then DEC being a natural resource-based agency, we are able to look at a risk of serious harm to the immediate environment. Much of this is about erosion control, soil compaction, and things that we look at every day as land managers. Attachment A looks very much like this. We shrank it a little bit to get it onto the screen, but this is tough to read, but if you study it and look at it, it starts to make more sense. But this is what we want the public to use and our staff to use when they start having conversations about where someone wants to go and the devices they want to use on those facilities. This will help the public be able to determine whether they think they've got the right device. Ultimately, when we decide a device fits in a category, that'll be a DEC review team that is being established as we speak. But this is how we're going to determine the categories. And I'm going to go through each category in a more readable form on the next few slides. So this is the one slide where we have a photo for those who can't see it. What we're looking at is a DEC trail that is fairly wide and flat, but possibly a little muddy and not firm and stable, so a wheelchair would struggle. And I don't know that I've said it yet tonight, wheelchairs that meet the federal definition are already allowed anywhere on DEC lands. that a pedestrian can go. So here we have a tracked wheelchair that may not meet the definition, the federal definition of a wheelchair. Um, that is pretty specific, the federal definition. This is a muddy surface that may not accommodate a wheelchair of itself, but there's 3 of them, and there's other folks wandering on a DEC facility. I'm not sure where this photo was taken. So back to the devices, yes. Category 1 is something like this tracked wheelchair. It's a battery operated, power driven device designed primarily for the use by an individual with mobility disabilities for the main purpose of outdoor locomotion. We've set the maximum width at 40 inches, maximum weight of 400 pounds. The maximum speed is a speed limit, not a device limit. The devices can go faster, but we're saying that these devices will probably be used in more high pedestrian use, and we feel slower speeds make sense. So we've set it at 4 miles per hour, which is the average person walking on uneven ground. We do have decibel limits, and we've set this one at approximately 30 decibels, which is equivalent to rustling leaves or whispering conversation. Category 2 is a little bit bigger device. It is also electric powered that may have tandem wheels, handlebars, and a floorboard or a seat that can be stood or sat upon by the operator. The maximum width is only 30 inches. The maximum weight is 300 pounds. The maximum speed of this device on our lands would be 20 miles per hour, but once again, the device may be able to go faster. And the decibel limits are somewhere around 40, which is a quiet library. So we've gone from wheelchair to category 1, which is almost a wheelchair, but not really able to be used indoors. Wheelchairs need to be able to be used indoors, to another device that's a little quicker, may not be able to be used indoors because most likely can't be used indoors, or there would be a wheelchair because of its turning radius and a multitude of other things, but can go quicker, and is not based solely for, not used for, not created or developed for just a person with disabilities. It's for everybody. Next, we move to our e-bikes, and these are still the device categories. So we've got our category 3 is our lowest level e-bike, which is set in our V&T law, vehicle and traffic law. They're called class 1 e-bikes. These are bikes that have a motor that assists you while you pedal up to 20 miles an hour. We've set the maximum width on these to 36 inches. And the decibel limits are 40, which is still a quiet library. We've created a category 3A, which is for larger than 36 inches wide. And we separated these out because we had concerns that some of our facilities may not accommodate these types of that width of an e-bike, and we wanted to be able to have conversations with the users and make sure we get them to facilities where they can actually enjoy themselves. Category 4 is our class 2 e-bike set in our vehicle and traffic law. This has its own little assist, engine assist, where you do not need to pedal. So you can pedal, and it's intended to be pedaled, and it has an assist to push you, but you can throttle, and the throttle will cut out at about 20 miles an hour. We also have that for our 4A, which is the same as the 3A. It's just that wide recumbent bike that may not be able to be accommodated on some of our facilities that we didn't intend for when we developed them. We weren't thinking about recumbent bikes. So it's our e-bikes. and these are being allowed in more places for people with mobility disabilities under our pre-approved part of our policy. Next is our category 5, and this could be a battery or gas operated device with the maximum width of about 52 inches. Maximum speed still remains at 20 miles an hour, although the device may be able to go faster. The decibel limits go up a little bit to 60, which is a normal conversation or a dishwasher volume. I liken this to your golf cart. There's many of these golf carts out there. They're getting a little bit more rugged. People are taking them out farther. This is what we're looking at. Our category 6 is our UTVs, ATVs, class 3 e-bikes, and dirt bikes. The maximum speed for these are also 20 miles an hour. That's about safety. The decibel limits go up, but these are devices that are regularly used by many people, and we're seeing more and more of them. We're defining them as our category 6. Our category 7 is a motor vehicle that can go on the road. Think of your car, your pickup truck, your camper. Could be your other power-driven mobility device, and we'll be careful where we allow campers just because of their size and weight. So our pre-approved other power-driven mobility uses. Our campground facilities, which are in the Catskills and the Adirondack parks, with a maintained trail width of about 36 inches. Categories 1 through 4A are pre-approved. Wildlife management areas, administrative roads, category 1 through 4 will be pre-approved. Our historic Great Camp Santanoni, Newcomb Road, we've pre-approved categories 2 through 3A. On our Adirondack Rail Trail, categories 2, 4, and 4A are pre-approved. 3 and 3A are already allowed on the Adirondack Rail Trail, just to stave off questions or concerns about that. Are designed and maintained for mountain biking trails or designated mountain bike trails. These are trails that we've created for mountain bikes. We are pre-approving categories 3 and 4. Our motorized access for people with disability routes on wildlife management areas, we're allowing categories 1 through 6 or 1 through 7. We typically do not mix ATVs and cars on our WMA areas. That's the reason for the or there. Motorized access for people with disabilities on the forest preserve and state forests, we've pre-approved 6 and 7. We do anticipate pre-approving through our UMP process more devices. When you see this pre-approved list, exclusion from this list does not mean a no on your device on a facility. It just means you have to go through the case-by-case process. So that's where that is. So if you see your device here, that's good. If you don't, you can still ask to use a device on a facility. The incompatible other power-driven mobility uses are equestrian trails on all lands under DEC's jurisdiction. This is a statewide concern. Category, we don't have a lot of equestrian trails across the state that are designated and built strictly for horses and horseback riding. They're very few. They're spread out, and they're very, very popular during the summer. There's horses on them 7 days a week, rain or not, or sun or not. And we had a safety concern that the horse may confuse another power-driven mobility device for a predator, horses being prey animals. We just felt it was advisable as a safety concern to keep them separate. Our environmental education centers, there's 5 of them across the state. These are very popular with school groups and young kids and families. So categories 3 through 7 we feel are incompatible. Also on our education centers, mountain biking is not a program we offer. So people are walking there. So we felt categories 1 and 2 may make sense. We also are at several of our education centers providing devices for the public to use. Recreational trails on all DEC lands, category 7, which is your motor vehicle, is incompatible. Recreational trails within campgrounds and day use areas, we have found category 6 and 7 to be incompatible. And areas with utility or administrative infrastructure, such as leach fields, utility corridors, and storage areas, we have found category 6 and 7 to be incompatible. Also on the forest preserve, in our wilderness, canoe, and primitive areas, our most restrictive areas under the state land master plans, we have found things incompatible. On recreational trails within 500 feet of a public highway, in areas with no provisions for mountain biking or snowmobiling, categories 3 through 7 are incompatible. On recreational trails beyond 500 feet of a public highway, in areas with no provision for bicycles or snowmobiles, categories 2 through 7 are incompatible. All recreational trails within wilderness and canoe and primitive areas, categories 6 and 7 are incompatible. When we say things are incompatible, you can still ask for a case-by-case permit to go on any of the DEC facilities with your device. But by saying it's incompatible, we're giving you a heads up that we're going to take a hard look at that device and that request. We cannot predetermine that we would say no, but we're going to take a hard look at it. So the way we hope this will work for the public and the staff is you'll have your device, you'll have your place you want to go, you'll look to see if it is pre-approved. If it is, you'll obtain your self-issuing permit and go have fun. If it's no, you'll go to the next step and you'll look to find if there's another pre-approved place that meets your needs. You can reach out to our staff in the regions, and they may be able to direct you to a place that'll help you. If you have that, you'll get your self-issuing permit and go enjoy yourself. If it's no, then we go to the case-by-case scenario. This, we're trying to make it streamline the review. All the reviews used to come into central office and we would review them. We're trying to make this a regional review, so that should speed up the process. But you'll come in, you'll tell us what the device is, where you want to go, what the program you're looking to access is, and we'll reuse our 9 questions, which ties into the federal factors, and we will make a determination of we can make this accommodation or we can't. I didn't touch on it, but we are looking to have permits for all uses. Some of this is so we can account and know if we're causing a problem or not. We are a natural resource agency. We'd like to be able to determine whether we're having an impact or not. If we're not having an impact, potentially in the future, we could expand what we're doing. And if we are having an impact, we should review it and maybe take a step back. We anticipate not having a problem. That's why we pre-approve things, but we do want to see if we're having a problem. So what will the policy achieve? We're expanding the list of pre-approved areas. We're increasing the number of devices that are pre-approved. And we're trying to speed up the process of getting a permit so it's less burdensome on the public. That is the hope with the self-issuing permit. We hope to clarify for both DEC staff and the public the step-by-step process for evaluating appropriate other powered drone mobility device uses. This also affirms DEC's commitment to wilderness principles as defined by Article 14 of the state constitution and the Adirondack and Catskill state land master plans. So I thank you for your attention. We're going to the public comment part. As a quick reminder, this is a public meeting. It is being recorded tonight. We asked you to keep your comments to less than 3 minutes. And our DEC email where we are accepting comments is on the screen again. We're accepting comments through March 9th. Thank you.
Okay, if anybody would like to make a comment, please use the raised hand feature at the bottom of your screen. All right, and we have one from Barry Keel. Barry, you have been unmuted. Let me try that again. All right, can you hear us?
Yep, appreciate the seminar tonight. I just want to let you know the Finger Lakes Trail Conference will be providing written comment.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Would anybody else like to make a comment? All right, we have 1 second. All right, I think I saw somebody's hand up briefly. Can you raise your hand once more? There we go. Lawrence Behan. Yes, can you hear us? Oops. Hi, can you hear us?
All this material is very difficult to comprehend quickly. And I was thinking that it would be very helpful if you would develop a chart that would, in a pictorial way, tell you what devices are allowed in what places.
Okay, thank you for your comment. I'll let McCrae either answer that or say that we will take that comment under consideration.
That is a comment we will absolutely take under consideration.
All right. All right. We are caught up. Is there anyone else? Here we are. There we go. All right. David Gibson. Can you hear us?
Thank you, DEC, for hosting the meeting. I'm Dave Gibson. I work for an organization called Friends of the Forest Preserve, and that's really about my comment. Forest Preserve is one of 5 or 6 public lands concerning this policy, or where this policy is to be implemented. And in addition, state parks across the state, which are not in DEC's jurisdiction, but nonetheless have had to address this OPDMD policy because they also have to accommodate reasonable accommodations in state parks. And but the Forest Preserve, while listed number 1, is not treated in this policy. Forest Preserve is protected by the Constitution of New York State and also the state land master plans in the Adirondack and Catskill parks. And the guidelines for managing the Forest Preserve in those 2 documents, state land master plans, Adirondack and Catskill parks, must be part of the assessment factors the department considers in its judgment and across about whether there will be, say, take a golf cart will cause a substantial alteration to the program or service. And the Forest Preserve is an actual program and service to the people of New York State. And there's various classifications, yes. For example, wilderness, there's no way that OPTMB should be considered as appropriate in wilderness areas, and that I'm sure that persons with disabilities and people of all abilities would agree that introducing OPDMD in wilderness diminishes the very mission of wilderness as a program and service. And people can access this through non-motorized means of any abilities. And that should be emphasized as well. So please make the State Land Master Plan guidelines part of your assessment factors as you go forward in this policy. And we look forward to submitting written comments. And again, I really appreciate this opportunity that you are affording all of us across the state to comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Jason Thurston. Jason, can you hear us?
I definitely am grateful that this is finally being addressed, and that obviously you've put a lot of time into considering what OMPDDs would be suitable for what areas. I just wondering how the pre-approved permit process is going to work.
Okay, we can take that under consideration. We're not taking questions and answers tonight, but we are taking comments.
Okay, well, as the chairman of the Accessibility Advisory Committee, we'll be submitting a comment as a committee, and I certainly will be submitting comments of my own. I appreciate all of the efforts that you guys have put into this, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, we are caught up. For those phone users, just wanted to mention, I forgot to mention that if you want to make a comment, press *3 on your phone. All right, the next is going to be Tim Mount. Tim, can you hear us? Tim?
Yes, I was wondering if you are aware of the list of accessible trails that was created by the Adirondack Land Trust and how that might impact your policy.
All right, we're not taking questions and answers tonight, but we will definitely take that under consideration. Is there any other comments?
No, I just wanted to know if you were aware of that list of trails.
Okay, they will take that comment under consideration.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, we are caught up. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? If you are a call-in user, you can do *3. Garrett Boland, can you hear us? Garrett, you're unmuted.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Especially as the permitting system moves forward, it sounds like it's very much in the first draft stages, just by the way you folks have been talking. I personally, as someone who's had to deal with getting permits from the government, it can definitely take a very long time for certain permits. And I hope that the folks who are going to be completing these permits at the DEC in the regions have a way to complete these permits efficiently and quickly. It seems like the process of having to apply for a permit for each trail, for each person, could potentially put a large undue workload on regional staff that are already worked fairly hard to maintain their units and their forest preserve. So I just hope that moving forward, you definitely consider the efficiency of the permit program when doing that, as well as potentially expanding to particular trails the OPDMDs that can be used. One that might come to mind is the recent trail out to Boreas Ponds. I know that's we made accessible for a certain length of it. Possibly the Marcy Dam Truck Trail. I mean, rangers already drive their UTVs on that. I mean, about every other week. I don't think a 1 or 2A or 2 classified OPDMD is going to make much of a difference on that. And I think persons with disabilities would very much appreciate being able to get out there. So perhaps taking trails in wilderness areas on an individual basis and designating them accessible for certain classes of OPDMDs could be the way forward. I know that the APA and the DEC have caught a lot of public comment about the OPDMDs, especially in the previous draft version under the definition, which I do agree was too broad. But I don't think that should discourage those folks at the APA and DEC from taking a stand and keeping in mind that people with disabilities would really like to access the land that everyone else can access. So thank you.
Thank you, Gary. All right, we are caught up. If anybody would like to make a comment, please do the raised hand at the bottom of your screen. If you're a call-in user, please do *3. Ari Epstein, can you hear us? Ari, you've been unmuted. Can you hear us?
Yes, thank you.
Mhm.
So, Craig Epstein, I'm sure I'm with the organization Adirondack Wilderness Advocates. I'm sure we will be submitting written comments as well. But one thing I wanted to focus on was requesting that you incorporate a strategy for sharing data about the usage of the program. So what devices are authorized, where the authorizations happen, what specifications are approved, what devices are approved, and recommending that you consider using Open New York as the platform for disseminating that information, because I think that is an ideal way to make information available to generally assess how the program is ultimately used and how its impacts are evaluated. The other thing I wanted to ask about, minor detail, but I'm curious why Class 1 devices wouldn't be permitted on the Adirondack Rail Trail. It was my understanding that pedestrian use is one of the approved uses for that trail, so I was surprised that Class 1 was excluded. And along with that, just a general sentiment that it seems odd to me that Class 1 devices would be excluded on equestrian trails but permitted on foot trails. And would like to see more elaboration about the impact differences being considered there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ari. Looks like we have Lawrence. Lawrence, yeah, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am on the executive committee of the Sierra and Adirondack Mountain Club Niagara groups. And there is a general concern that that this program is going to lead to a rapid proliferation of vehicles in the woods. I guess we would like to be assured that people who are you, excuse me. That people who are using these devices are actually medically in need of them. What sort of assurance would we have of that?
Okay. It's not a question and answer segment, but we can certainly take that comment under consideration. Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Catherine Carroll. Catherine, yeah, you're unmuted. Can you
hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. This is Catherine Carroll, Albany, New York. Thank you for taking my comment. I just want to express appreciation and support for just a policy overall. Moving away from a purely individualized reasonable modification system to an overall framework that is available to the public is incredibly useful to people that need the time and the information in order to plan outings and visits to state lands. For people with disabilities, particularly people with physical and mobility disabilities who rely on mobility devices on a daily basis, find it difficult finding a device that works for them. It can be incredibly difficult and time consuming. Devices that going beyond your standard wheelchair, whether manual or power, can be cost prohibitive. And these devices take up space, practically speaking, and require storage and are difficult to transport. So I just want to highlight for people that, highlight that for some people with physical mobility disabilities, access to these devices is not an easy thing and not a simple matter. And having a general framework is helpful for planning purposes. And at least for those folks, I don't expect there to be a massive proliferation in the use of OPDMDs just because of barriers to access for honestly the people that need them most. So thank you very much. That's the end of my comment.
Thank you, Catherine. All right, we are caught up. If anybody would like to make a statement or comment, please click on the raised hand feature at the bottom of your screen. If you're a call-in user, do *3. Jackie Bowen, yes, you're unmuted. Can you hear us?
I think I was just unmuted, so I'm assuming it's me now.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jackie Bowen, Director of Conservation at the Adirondack Council. I also want to echo other sentiments about thanking the department and other sister agencies that have assisted in developing this draft policy. I know it's been a long road, and it's really great to see a lot of the legal parameters outlined and greater clarity, and we're on the road to a strong policy. The Adirondack Council will also be providing written comments, but we do want to flag that we have questions about what type of education campaign or internally specifically will be created for land managers and rangers on this program implementation, kind of echoing some other comments that we heard here tonight. How will the ecological impacts be monitored with this program? And how can it be better tailored to forest preserve qualities and the state land master plan considerations, particularly in the Adirondack Park, but also Catskill Parks as well? And yeah, I think that's all we have for right now, and just look forward to providing written comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. All right, we are caught up. If anybody would like to make a comment, please click on the raised hand feature at the bottom of your screen. Call-in users do *3. Do we have anybody else that would like to make a comment tonight? I'll give it a minute or two, or a minute. Again, if anybody would like to make a comment, it's the raised hand feature at the bottom of your screen. Call-in users *3. Okay, McCray, I think that is all the comments that are being offered tonight.
Fantastic. Yeah, there were a few questions that I didn't write them all down, but we will try to answer them through the comment process. I really appreciate everybody's comments and their time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.